As much as we love sports, we have like great moments that have happened in our sports lives. Last night, locally, for two guys that work on the show today, you and CeeLo just flat out sucked.
Oh, with the Rangers.
Just flat out sucked.
Yeah, you know what's so weird, though, is it didn't for the entire night.
For Rutgers, yes.
They played, I keep saying it, they played so freaking well for 39 minutes and 30 seconds, and then it just blew up. And it was like, what the hell just happened? The kid battle just got hot late, and it was, I'm sitting there stunned. There's not another word for it. It was absolutely bizarre, and I cannot believe I'm sitting here that they lost that game with the way they played.
Yeah, and that's brutal because obviously this is a bad loss for them. Minnesota is disgustingly bad in the conference, and this is a game that, you know, you're an 8-point favorite, I think, in the game. You got to go in there. You got to win it, especially when you're talking about bubble teams and everything else. And to blow, what was it, a 10-point lead in a minute and a half?
Well, I know, yes, and it was 8 with 1:03 to go. Yeah.
God.
And
Sir, bend over.
And what's nuts about it are a couple of different things. Number one, there was a 12 to 14-minute review when the game ended.
See, I did not know that.
Because the clock apparently did not start when Cooper touches the ball off the inbounds on the final play of the game. That's number one. Number two, Battle, like watch him shuffle his feet. Like he even walks.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that said, so whatever. It is what it is.
Yeah.
They should have never been in that position. That's
Exactly.
not why they lost the game. But, my God, you think of two of their road losses this year, the Ohio State game where the kid steps on the sideline and the officials didn't see it, and then the Big Ten apologizes for it the next day. Well, that and $1 gets you $1. And then last night, again, up by 8 minutes to go. That's not why they lost this game last night. I mean, a 12-minute video review after this.
Well,
You get nothing. You lose.
a lot.
Good day, sir.
Yeah.
Ohio State one was way worse than
Oh, for
this.
sure. Well, yeah, I agree.
That was brutal because you could have blamed the loss on that. I mean, this was a total meltdown. So many things had to happen to get to that point. But that Ohio State one was really bad.
Yeah, it was, yes, both very difficult. This one difficult because Minnesota had lost 12 straight games.
Yeah.
They're clearly the better team, and they didn't finish the game. That's it. The only lead. So I said during one of my too excited moments, I guess, at the end, I said at the end, you know, Rutgers led the game for 40 minutes. Mm-hmm. They had the lead the entire time.
Yeah.
The only time Minnesota led was when the ball went through at zeros on the clock.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah, it's as bad as it gets.
disgusting.
Especially for a team that was really looking to take the next step. It doesn't mean they're not going to make the tournament. Doesn't mean that they're not going to get an at-large bid. We'll see what happens in the conference
They
tournament.
might have to win Sunday. And who knows? Nobody knows.
Right. Yeah.
Nobody knows. I will tell you this. If they won last night, I think they probably were 100% in.
Yeah. Well, now it feels like Dayton again, right?
I don't know. I honestly, I have no clue because I was stunned by the whole Dayton thing last year. I never anticipated them having to play in that game. But yeah, it was, and the atmosphere it lacked for much of the night until the final minute when it really, and there weren't a ton of people there, but all of a sudden they got very loud in that place, and it was a lot of travel for that.
Yeah, for sure.
Rough.
What time did you get back here?
2.
2 o'clock. All right. So I actually thought it would have been worse than that.
No, it wasn't bad. I got to tell you, let me give Newark Airport, which I don't think I've ever done,
Wow,
a ton of credit for. Yeah.
Wow.
This was unbelievable. I got to the airport in 14 minutes. From the time I parked and got through TSA, 7 minutes.
Wow.
I've never seen this before because I always have Al running through my head trying to make all this work like I did yesterday. I'm waiting for this gigantic line at the TSA. They had multiple people guiding you to go to the shortest agent.
Yeah.
So the line wasn't long, and they had every possible station open with multiple people working that so that if there wasn't a bin, they ran and got a bin for you. They had this thing moving so quick. I'm like, where am I? Like every time I've gone to Newark, it's a complete disaster.
So you could have done the whole 9 o'clock hour with me yesterday.
Yes, I probably could have. Yeah, it was nuts how quick it worked.
Well, that's great, and I think that also this week because you had the winter break for a lot of schools locally last week. This week there wasn't as many people traveling, which probably helped out as well.
Probably so. Yes,
but that's great. So so the couple of things that absolutely sucked for you, and then CeeLo. We just detailed the Rutgers loss, and then for CeeLo, and I heard him on the warm-up Cup show and how he got it right in the ass as well with the Patrick Kane situation and blowing a lead to the Ottawa Senators, who I guess are playing better. But the Garden was a tough ticket last night. Yeah. It was a very expensive ticket.
What did we say? $500 was the get-in price, right?
Yes, as the day went on. Yes, I believe it was at first it was like $250, and then it got even bigger. And everybody that was there, I saw tweeting, said it was the loudest they had heard the Garden the entire year, some of the loudest they had ever heard it in a very long time with the Patrick Kane debut, and then they end up losing. So this is it's a conundrum, right? It's a conundrum because you want your team to go all in and try to win a championship no matter who it is. But what's going on with the Rangers right now is there is one acceptable result, and that's a Stanley Cup championship.
Yeah, for sure.
That's it. So, when you bring in Patrick Kane, I understand they were still short-manned and undermanned last night, and K'Andre Miller's suspension, and it's a back-to-back, all these other excuses that you can give. When the crowd is so fired up, frothing at the mouth for a victory, and then you lose a game like this, it just reminds you that the Rangers are in that spot right now, which you want your teams to be in. But it's a catch-22 that, when you've got to the conference final last year, and now you made 2 big trades at the deadline. You brought in 2 scorers, and Tarasenko has been bad, and Patrick Kane. Now you got to go to the Stanley Cup final, and you got to win it.
Or it's a failure.
Of course. So now you're the Yankees.
Yeah, well, right. That's the difference between a young and up-and-coming team making this fun run to where if they win, it's like, wow, this was awesome, as opposed to, you're supposed to win now.
Yep.
And the Yankees is a good comparison, because how many years have we sat here and said, and George used to say this too. It's not like us making this up. George used to say, if you don't win the World Series, the season's a failure. Now, the new regime doesn't say that. You heard Brian Cashman. I forget was it MLB that he was on with, or maybe a radio station in Texas. I forget where he was at, where he was talking about the Yankee fan and basically saying, these people, I mean, my God, if we don't win the World Series, it's a failure. You realize how many games we've won, and they're spoiled. Well, yeah, that's kind of the goal here, is to win the World Series.
Yeah, especially when you get swept by the Astros. I mean, that was really, you struggled with the Guardians, it got swept by the Astros. But so this is what you want. You want your team to go all in and try to win, but there's a side of that as a fan that is just, it's painstaking. It is tough. Your anxiety level goes up because you have to. They had to win that game last night for their fans with the Kane debut and everybody going crazy and paying all that money to get into. They had to win that game last night, and they didn't.
Yeah, but you go rip off 4 in a row now, and it's all forgotten.
Yeah.
I mean, I do agree with you, though, in terms of winning the championship. Yeah, I mean, but you also, the opposite or the flip side to that is you don't do anything. You stand pat and you say, you know what, we're not going to fix what's not broken right now. I know we're not the Bruins. I get it. But you know what? The goalie gets hot, we can play with anybody and beat anybody. And there is truth to that as well. Maybe that makes it more of a fun story, I get it. But if you're a Ranger fan and then it would have come out that you could have gotten Patrick Kane,
you had to get him.
Of course you had to do it.
Yeah, you had to get him. And that's not the argument. I wouldn't do anything differently than what the Rangers have done. It's just that from the fan perspective, and the pressure is now on. The pressure is now on. There is no other result other than getting farther than you did last year and then winning a cup that this fan base is going to be satisfied with. And there's regular seasons we've talked about so much in all these sports, baseball and basketball and hockey in particular, because obviously the NFL regular season is just amazing. But even talking with Spike this morning, where the Knicks are and where the Sixers are, the Knicks regular season right now for the fan base is a lot of fun.
It's a blast.
Because they're playing great basketball. They're rattling off wins. Jalen Brunson is fun to watch every single night. So it's like the regular season matters to the Knicks fan right now because they haven't had this. We had it a little bit a couple of years ago in the COVID season with Julius Randle, but this seems even more like taking a step forward. Whereas for the Sixers, and we need some paper towels for Jerry, some paper towels.
I'm all right. It's just a little bit. I'm good. See? Not a whole cup. It's fine. I'll get it during the break.
So now, but for the Sixer fan or the Bucks fan or any, the regular season doesn't matter at all.
You're waiting for the playoffs to start.
Doesn't mean anything.
I know. I know.
It's just expectation as a fan means everything to how you feel. And you can't, if you're a diehard fan, you can't help yourself. You can't not have any expectations. And for the Giants this year, a great year for them because nobody expected them to do a damn thing.
Thank you.
So it's just thinking about last night. And
let me ask you this question, though, because you bring up an interesting topic. And as a Met fan,
yeah,
for the last decade of Wilpon-owned Mets, aside from 15, when they had that wacky run and they went to the World Series, this is everything a Met fan's been dying for, is to have an owner that's going to spend and have the expectations increase tenfold. Do you feel that way going into this season?
100%. Yeah, they have.
So you're not excited to watch the Mets this season until you get to October, basically.
Yeah, I'll tell you why. I mean, that's probably the best example. Now, I don't want to say I'm not excited, but whatever happens in the regular season, as long as they make the playoffs, I don't care. So the two things that I care about for the Mets this season is getting in the postseason, whether you win a division or not, because it's such a crapshoot. We've seen the teams over the wild card go on and then end up winning. You see a team like the Dodgers ending up getting knocked out, all that. But get into the postseason somehow, some way, and be as healthy as possible when you do it. Outside of that, I don't care if you win 115 games or you win 89 games and get in as a wild card. Doesn't mean anything to me.
Right. So now I'm going to come back to what I said, I think, on Wednesday, and this is the complaint I have about the athletes themselves, or even fans or even media that will say this. It's entertainment.
Yeah.
Well, no, I mean, you can't say that if you're telling me that it's all boring and the whole regular season is a waste of time. You don't want to watch it. Just get us to the playoffs. So is it entertainment? Is it just about winning? Like, what is it?
Well,
what are pro sports now?
Well, it's different for everybody. So for me, I've seen everything but them win a World Series. I was 4 in 1986. I've seen great regular seasons. I've seen terrible regular seasons. I've seen Shea Stadium close. I've seen Citi Field open. I've seen them make it to the World Series and lose. I've been in the building twice when the other team clinched. I saw the Yankees celebrate at Shea Stadium. I saw the Kansas City Royals celebrate at Citi Field. I've seen it all. The only thing I haven't seen is that World Series. So for me, that's what matters. That's the missing piece. Now, it's tougher for me to enjoy the ride. Now, for example, my mother, who raised me a Mets fan, she is going down to spring training this year.
Yeah, she's probably very excited.
With her friend, who's a big Mets fan, and she laps up every bit of this. Could not get enough of preseason, spring training baseball, regular season baseball. They win. She gets disappointed if they lose, but that's her. She sits there with the game every night and watches it.
Sure.
A younger kid who's loves baseball loves the regular season. Just for me, like what I saw last year, you're leading to the division the entire year. You get swept by the Atlanta Braves in the biggest series of the regular season, and then you get killed in the wild card round. And for me, I'm not going to really get into it until the postseason, because that's what I need to see from them. But that's just, and maybe you're the same way with your teams, because we're similar age and we've seen a lot of sports and we're in the same business. But I'm not saying everybody has to feel like I do about the Mets, but that's after the way last year ended. Yeah.
See, I'm not. I actually enjoy the season, because if not, then why even bother? Let's just have a big play. Like I said this the other day, let's just have a big 2-week playoff tournament. That's it.
I wouldn't be opposed to that.
Yeah, you would.
I wouldn't be opposed.
You've enjoyed February?
No, of course.
What else are you talking about?
I know.
I mean, because all you're talking about then is let's give college basketball March, you give baseball October, you can give the NFL.
No, the NFL regular season is phenomenal. That, because every week until you get the teams that are 1-13 towards the end of the year. But I mean, there's more teams in it. The extra wild card. A team gets off to an 0-2 start. You feel like that's a must-win game for them in week 3.
The extra wild card, and this is what I think has really been a problem, are the playoffs. If you want to talk about why the regular season doesn't mean a crap, that's the problem. When you've got all these teams making the playoffs. Like if you told, let's for instance, if you're the Bucks, you're the Sixers, you're the Celtics, clearly everything for them is based around what happens in May and June. And I totally understand that. When you get to 4, I don't know, can they really win? Can they really win in a championship? I would tell you probably there's 3 teams that can win an NBA title in the NBA. Let's say, for instance, though, there were only 4 playoff teams in each conference. You want to tell me the regular season not going to mean a hell of a lot more then?
See, that's why I disagree, because the more playoff teams that you have, the more markets that are involved and the more fan bases that are engaged.
But the better teams are going to have to play.
True.
Because seeding will matter.
But there's going to be so many fan bases that are
Listen,
I got no shot.
I'm not telling you it's ever going the other way. Matter of fact, you might get to a point where every team makes a playoff tournament at the end, which will completely render the regular season a complete waste of time. I understand that, and I'm not saying that's ever going to change. What I am saying is if you want the regular season to matter, that's how it has to matter for the better teams.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, what's the point?
No, it's true. I mean, I really think it's just about for these to do something your team hasn't done in a while. So for the Giants this year, getting to the playoffs, it was the first time since the Ben McAdoo boat party situation with the wide receivers that they had been in the playoffs. So it had been a stretch. They'd been through hell. They got to the playoffs. That was fine. For the Jets, they have to get to the playoffs. For the Mets, they've got to go deep into the playoffs. For the Knicks, because they went to the playoffs a couple years ago, they have to win a round. So basically, I mean, it's really what the team hasn't done in a while. And if that means like the Knicks having a great regular season like this, then it matters because they haven't done that in a while. So it's really what you're expecting the team to do and what you haven't seen them do. You know, and then if you're the Atlanta Braves fan and you see them win the division every year, it's like that's just not important to you anymore.
Well, and then what if you're a team that wins every year? Does it even matter anymore?
That's
like
a good
for
question.
real when you say you've seen it all.
Yeah.
I mean, I will tell you, and it's going back a long time now, when the Cowboys won those 3 Super Bowl titles in 4 years, it's like, this is kind of cool, but okay.
Yeah,
you know?
Now what? Yeah, that's the way I would feel if the Vikings won a championship. Like after like the 2 weeks of glow, I'd be like, okay, now what?
And it's so funny you say that because I'll never forget sitting there when the Cowboys won in '92. And I had never seen them win. I saw the Mets win in '86, and I was certainly a Met fan as a child. There's no question about it. I never saw the Nets win. I never saw the, let's see, who else would I think about at that point in '92? Clearly, never saw the Devils win at that point. The Rangers, not yet.
Knicks?
No, I never saw the Knicks win. That was too far back for me.
73, yeah.
So I remember sitting there. I'll never forget. We had a whole bunch of people over. And the Cowboys were in the Super Bowl, and I could not have been more excited. I was 18 years old. Finally, this happened. Remember, my first memory was Dwight Clark in the back of the end zone. It was heartbreak. And from that point forward, they never won a damn thing. And I'll never forget the game goes final, and it was a blowout. And maybe 20 minutes after the game was over, I'm like, I'll get a trophy. Like, I don't get it. Like, that was awesome.
Yeah.
But now what?
Yeah, I know. I mean,
There's no parade for me.
Yeah, but
it's a weird feeling.
Right, but what it is it's memories forever.
100%.
And that's really what it's about. Like knowing that, especially if it's a team that hasn't won ever or a team that hasn't won in a very long time. Like the Ranger fan who was able to experience 1994. I mean, they're still watching those DVDs.
Absolutely.
They're still watching it on, and so that's.
And I remember going through that run with my father, who's a lifelong Ranger fan, and it was I remember my wife was watching the Rangers with us, and I wasn't a Ranger fan, but my dad was, and it just felt like something really big was happening. And we were sitting there watching those games with him on Tuesday nights.
Yeah.
It really was. It was wild.
Thank you for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe. And don't forget to hit the red bell so you're notified when we have new content.